I keep hearing about wanting to go back to the good old days when families were strong, nuclear households under the husband's name, and divorce rates negligible. Coverture, because a married woman was the property of her husband until the early 1900s. Domestic violence, because in the 1950s, 1 in 8 women had been severely beaten by their husbands. ECOA, because women couldn't open bank accounts without their husband's permission until 1974. Marital rape, because women didn't legally have autonomy over their bodies until 1993. Though let's be real, we're still fighting that battle. I keep hearing about wanting to go back to the good old days of simpler times when we didn't have to worry about pronouns and we could toss around slurs with no worry of repercussions. Pink triangles, because marking you as other makes you less human. AIDS epidemic, because a decade of over 100,000 men dying from one disease is just God punishing gay men while giving everyone else a free pass. Conversion therapy, because we'd rather our children end their lives than live them as sinners. Iowa Senate File 418, because transgender men and women have no rights. I keep hearing about wanting to go back to the good old days when families weren't torn apart over politics, parents didn't have to apologize, and children owed them everything. Sexual abuse. In the 50s and 60s, nearly half of American girls experienced sexual assault before turning 18. But I'm sure they had it coming. Child abuse. Because until 1974, you could beat your children without consequence. They should be seen and not heard after all. Generational trauma. Because what I say goes, so stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Juvenile delinquents. Because a runaway teen is a disrespectful menace, even if they're just trying to escape hell. I keep hearing about wanting to go back to the good old days when we were all living the American dream, massacring entire peoples and stealing their land, then stealing bodies away to work that land. 3/5 of a person, because we'll use your body to pad our pockets, but you definitely aren't people. Trail of Tears, Cherokee, Muskogee, Seminole, Chickasaw, Choctaw, because genocide is okay as long as you get some gold out of it. Japanese internment camps. 4 years, 10 concentration camps, 120,000 Japanese Americans, because they look like them. Jim Crow and Separate but Equal, because outdated textbooks are just as good as new, and standing is the same as sitting, and if we keep you exhausted and uneducated, you're a lot easier to control. I keep hearing about wanting to go back to the good old days when a family could live off of one income and you were loyal to your employer, staying with them your whole career because you're family. Pregnancy Discrimination Act, because women could legally be fired for being pregnant until 1974. Nepotism, because you don't have to be skilled. You just need to know the right people. Predatory lending, because at the end of the day, we just don't want you as our neighbor. Prohibition of DEI, because you were rising above our mediocrity, and boy, did it hurt our feelings.